Hey, Mystic Michaela spiritual family. Welcome to Know Your Aura with Mystic Michaela today. How is memory a conduit for connecting with the other side? With the holidays approaching, there's lots of opportunities to do traditions, honor people, think of people, remember. How can all of these be opportunities to make a mediumship connection with the people we miss so much? But first, hey, Scotty.
Hey, guys. All right. Well, when you presented this topic today, it kind of got me thinking. At first, I kind of got happy, and then it made me a little sad in a way. And let me just explain. So, we have a lot of traditions in our family that we've created over the last 15 years, right?
Yeah.
With our two kids. Even today, after we're done, when the kids get home from school today, we're going to put up the tree, and we put all the decorations on, and then on the top of the tree goes our very special ornament, which is this tiny little kitten that I got for you when I tricked you when I proposed.
Yes.
And basically, I thought it was funny. Like, I bought this little box that looked like a ring box. I probably told this story on the podcast already.
Yeah.
I apologize to all that have heard it before. And I put this little tiny ornament in it.
Right.
And so, like, when you opened it, you would think it was the ring.
Yeah. I was like, okay.
But it was just this ornament. And then, of course, and I was dressed in a Santa suit, by the way. Then, of course, after you open that, then I went down on one knee and then presented the ring in front of your entire family. But I thought it was a tradition on
Scott, it was hysterical.
Christmas Eve.
It was hysterical.
Yes. Okay.
We all laugh and we continue to do so.
So we have that, that tradition. And then the next day we do the lights outside. We never do them together. We always do the tree and then all the stuff outside.
Yeah.
Indoor, outdoor. And then after that, we kind of take an inventory. We look around the outside. We look around the inside. And then we see what we need.
What crap do we need?
Yes, what crap? We call it the Christmas crap buy.
Yeah.
It does actually have another word. If you know what a GSD aura is, it's that middle word. So we call it that.
Yeah.
And then we go out and we go to a couple stores and we try to buy things that we really don't need, but that we feel will add to the holiday spirit.
The holiday,
The kids get to pick out what they want. You pick out what you want. I pick what I want. We get some things again. It's really wonderful. And then, of course, we have our Christmas exchange that we do.
Right.
So there's a lot of holiday traditions that, and then, of course, for Thanksgiving, you have to watch the plane. It's a must. You must watch at least 7 minutes of Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
He's assigning it to all of you now.
Yes. And every listener now, you must listen or watch 7 minutes of Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. You can find it probably on Channel USA.
It's playing all the time.
Comedy Central. Sure, you can find it. And because, it's this story of two guys trying to get home for Thanksgiving.
Yes.
And they get stuck in Kansas. And of course, I feel like I always wanted to be stuck in Kansas because I watched it so much. And then I did get stuck in Kansas.
You manifested
this summer. And I manifested it. And now I'm looking back at it, I'm so glad I got stuck in Kansas and had to drive. We had to use the plane straight. All right.
Yeah.
Can't get into all that. But anyway, now I'm going to get sad.
Yeah.
So what if, one of your people's, is
passes.
It passes. Right. I can't even say it. I don't want to even bring this into existence.
Of course.
And, a lot of people, a lot of our listeners are probably going through that. Maybe it's their first year going through that.
Yes.
Maybe they've been going through it for the last 20 years.
Yeah.
But what do you do? Like, how do you even handle that? I mean, I couldn't handle it. What do you do?
There's like no right answer.
Yeah.
I have this one client I remember, just this lovely lady, and her mom's birthday was around Thanksgiving. And so when her mom, and they were very close. And so when her mom passed, it was like, a double whammy because it was her mom's birthday and then, like Thanksgiving. And I think that year her mom's birthday landed on Thanksgiving and she was just devastated. And she's like, I can't do it. Like, I can't do Thanksgiving this year. I can't do it.
Right.
And so she went on a cruise with her family. And, that worked for her that year. I feel like some people just can't do the traditions. That doesn't mean you're not connecting with someone when you don't do the traditions in the regular way.
Right.
I think it's just remembering somebody and doing something in honor of them, because memory itself is a conduit. So if you can't go through the motions of the holidays this year, that's okay. You can do something totally else. And I really feel like with mediumship, they connect to you best when you are feeling all the things. You know, like they don't want you to suffer through something. That's like a hard energy to connect with. They'd much rather you be like, you know what? I'm going to cry, but also laugh and have, you know, margarita by the pool. You know, if that's what you need to do to feel better, it's easier to like connect with them anyhow. There's no right answer here.
Yeah.
I would love to actually hear the Mystic Michaela spiritual family. I'll put up a thread when this post comes out so we can all give each other tips and suggestions and support during this time, because ideas are necessary.
Yeah. I mean, I know for myself, just for my grandparents, I can't do it.
Yeah.
Like I mentioned this on the podcast already. You know, there was a tradition called Passover.
Mm-hmm.
I will not do it. I just refuse to do it.
Right.
And then anytime my mom tries to do it, I've said this already, I turn into the biggest jerk on the planet.
Yeah.
I'm like a jerky red. I'm just a jerk red.
You were better this year.
Yeah. I mean, because I just...
Well, your sister was here.
Yes.
So I think that helped you.
Yeah, so I just kind of like mocked it with her.
Right.
Like I just like I was just making fun of how horrific they do it.
She was doing it wrong.
Yeah, not to her face. I was like, at least I had someone like to do it with.
Yeah.
So I don't even think she knew. If she listens to the podcast now, she'll know. But
I'm sure she suspects.
She probably, yeah. Well, no, I'm upfront about it. Like I've told them,
right,
like many times, like I am not doing it.
Yeah.
Like, I am not doing it. This is the reason why I'm not doing it. So I'm very upfront with it. But so I understand, like people, because I guess since I've read a couple places that society says you could do, like they give you 1 year, and I think that's BS, by the way.
Yeah.
I don't believe that myself, but I read it, you know, probably Martha Stewart's Home Magazine or whatever. You get 1 year, you know, to the day, 365. It's a leap year, you get 366. And then you have to go back to doing the old way of doing it.
Yeah.
And I don't know that that's true. I don't think it's true.
No.
But I think that's what society says. And
yeah.
I don't know. I mean,
it's a lot of pressure.
There's a lot of pressure, right? Like, let's say you feel like, oh, you know, Thanksgiving, I didn't do it. Now do I have to do it? I don't want to do it again this Thanksgiving. And I even read a story about a lady that the first year they took it off. They couldn't do it. They lost the father.
Oh,
the father died.
I saw this on the Today Show.
Yeah, they lost the father. The father died. And they couldn't do it. So they went the whole other route, like you said, the cruise route, whatever.
Yeah,
I don't know what they did.
And the kids, yeah.
And then the second year, they fell into that society says now you have to go back. And then they did like the traditional party, the Christmas party, meet the family, meet the, you know, all the with the relatives. And they were a mess.
Yeah.
And then after that year, they went back to the saying, no, we're going to do the nuttiest thing the furthest thing we can think of. Like I think they went to like go visit a bonsai museum tree, you know, the bonsai tree
something
museum.
Just really weird.
So they did try to do what society said, and then they just couldn't handle it, which I totally understand. And then they went the total opposite and did as wacky a thing as they could every year since.
But that's cool because they do it together.
Right.
And they do it kind of with dad's honor.
Right.
You know, which is
right. In his honor.
A new tradition is fine to replace the old one. Like whatever resonates with you, like whatever makes you feel like is close to them in your own way.
Yeah, and that's what they said. They felt closer to him
this way than the other way. Because sometimes like when you go through the motions, unless it brings you some sort of joy in a different way, if you're just going through the motions to go through it. Sometimes it's hard though because you got kids. So you're like, okay, I got to do it this way, you know, or you also don't feel like you can disappoint certain people because, you know, they're taking it hard too. So it's really hard when you have family. It's like an oppressive energy to produce a smile and go through the motions when inside you're not feeling good at all. Yeah. So, I mean, it's hard. So yeah, we'll ask the Mystic Michaela spiritual family what their ideas are.
And and again, through the holiday season, you know, if you need to use the page for that, we have a great loving group, supportive group, non-judgmental group. So, you know, feel free to, you know, feel that you
put it on there
and put things in there.
Get some
it's a safe space.
It is a safe space and get some support.
Exactly. All right. So we're taking a quick break. When we come back, you're going to talk about using memory as a conduit for connection with people who have passed.
The days, they are very busy. You know, kids come home from school. There's an activity here, activity there. I'm always making sure they're fed. But what about me? What about my nutritional goals? And I've been really trying to pay more attention to that lately. Well, with Factors, no prep, no mess meals, it's been a lot easier to make sure that I'm getting the nutrition I need too. Factor lets you do you. You choose from 6 menu preferences to help you manage calories, for example, or maximize protein intake, or avoid meat, or simply eat well balanced. Because Factor's meals are chef prepared and dietitian approved, you're going to love not only how Factor's meals taste, but also how they do support your goals. And guess what? Factor is cheaper. Yes, cheaper than takeout and, of course, dining out. You put the money you save towards other things while you reach your nutritional goals. And they are so easy to make, okay? Like they're never frozen. They're always fresh. They come to you fresh. They cook up in just a few minutes and they do taste absolutely amazing. Like the meat, for example, like you think, oh, is it tough? Like once I cook it up. No, it really does taste like I'm eating something directly from a restaurant. Head to factormeals.com/KYA50 and use code KYA50 to get 50% off your first box and 20% off your next month. That's code KYA50 at factormeals.com/KYA50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month while your subscription is active. Memory is a conduit. Remembering someone on the other side, not just about them factually, but remembering how they made you feel, remembering the interactions, remembering the funny stuff, the little stuff, all that is a conduit. It's actually the strongest way you can bring them closer to you. And if that sounds cliche, it kind of is, but if you really, really think about it, it's mind-blowing. It's mind-blowingly powerful. And I thought this would be a great mediumship episode this week because we're going into the holiday season and there's a lot of traditions. And traditions are a great time for memory. I think a lot of us don't always enjoy remembering. I'll speak from my own experience. Sometimes remembering things actually is sad. I don't like to feel sad, like the people that have gone or missed. I remember we have these old VHS tapes and, you pop it in. It's like, there's my dog who died, when I was 10, there's grandma, there's like all these people I miss so badly. And a part of me is like, I don't want to watch this. Like I just get it off. I can't because it's so upsetting. But the way that through mediumship, because all the people I read teach me things. So when I read you and you allow me to read your relatives who've crossed over, they all teach me stuff. And because of that, I'm actually more open to feeling that feeling of missing someone, because I know that when you do that, a door it opens and that's how you connect with them. And the price you pay, the toll you pay to cross that bridge is feeling sad and feeling that gut-wrenching, like, oh, I miss you so much, like that. Because that's the little toll you pay. And then what happens is you get the reward. And the reward is amazing connection and their increased connectivity in your life in ways that aren't sad. So, they show up in signs and symbols and through other people and in really cool ways on the daily. If you ever wonder, like, hey, how come somebody gets signs all the time from their aunt so-and-so, but I never get signs at all? Think about, what are they doing, a little differently than you? Are they allowing themselves to feel the feelings, and all the feelings, like the nuances of feelings, like the laughing about the memory or the bringing them up in conversation or the doing things they used to do or doing things in memory of them. Perhaps you pick up a book series that they were really into and you start reading it, and you start thinking like, oh, I wonder what they thought about this part, or I can see why, mom loved this book series. Or you pick up a hobby that was really into them. Grandma loved to garden. I'm gardening. I'm just going to throw myself into it. Or grandpa was really great at tiling the bathroom. So I'm going to channel his energy. I'm going to tile the bathroom. Okay. I'm going to do it. Like doing things in honor of them, something that reminds you of them. That is all ways that all of a sudden a conduit is created and the passageway clears for them to show up in daily moments of your life. And again, I thought this time of year was a great time to bring this up because of traditions. We are getting into the holiday season. No matter what traditions you grew up in, these are things associated with people, assumably, who've passed. And traditions are just memory in action. Okay, baking the thing, having the dinner, decorating a certain way, whatever it is, it's just memory in action. And some of us, I noticed, myself included, like we've dropped the belief systems sometimes, maybe not, doesn't matter. But if you've dropped the belief systems connected to the tradition, it doesn't mean that it doesn't mean anything or you shouldn't do it. Okay, like for me, for example, I was raised very Catholic, but I have my grandmother's nativity set, the creche, so it's like Mary and Joseph and baby Jesus and all that. And I put it out every year because she did. When I do that, I feel close to her. So just because I'm not going to church every Sunday or practicing Catholicism doesn't mean that I have to drop the tradition. That's how I see it. I think there a lot of us are like, well, if I don't do that anymore, if I don't believe that anymore, I have to drop the traditions. I'll tell you, I had this reading. I must have said this before. Sometimes I've had these impactful readings. It was a woman whose grandmother died, but she had escaped the Holocaust, and so she was Jewish and she had escaped the Holocaust, but her mom and her sibling did not. They perished. And in the reading, she said something to the effect of, all roads lead here, meaning doesn't matter what you practice or what religion you are, all roads lead here, wherever here is on the other side. Not saying it wasn't important, it's just, whatever tradition or belief system you have doesn't mean that it's not important, doesn't mean that it doesn't matter. It just means that all roads lead here. So if something connects, don't drop it just because you're not following it in the way that you think you should. And I hope that makes sense. So sometimes we'll have differences with our home religion or even our culture. Sometimes there's stress in the connotation, like maybe the way that you were raised in your culture or the way you were raised in your religion or both, you reject it. You're like, I don't want to do that anymore. That's not for me. I don't like that. Not because of the traditions, but because of the people who are kind of either shoving them down your throat or you have differences, opinions with them. You can't throw these things out just because somebody else ruined it for you. So you can reclaim these traditions in your own way. You can reclaim your cultural traditions in your own way. Reclaim it and connect with the people who've crossed over. I hope that makes sense because like I said, traditions are just memory in action, and memory is a conduit.
Hello, podcast fans. If you're looking for a new podcast, if you enjoy articles, books, pop culture, and hilarity, try listening to the Brain Candy Podcast.
That's right. The Brain Candy Podcast has over 500 episodes of educational hilarity to satiate your learning needs. Just search for the Brain Candy Podcast on your podcast app or click the link in the show notes.
Okay. The other thing I wanted to bring up, ephemeral signs. Okay. These are signs that last a short time. These are transient feelings and emotions associated with doing things like a tradition. Okay. So you put the star around the tree or you light the candles at Hanukkah and you're feeling something when you're doing this. These ephemeral moments, these things that aren't tangible, these senses that are layered, these are really important signs. And these are infused in tradition, and these are infused with messages. And this is where your loved one lives. Like when you get that sense washing over you of, I'm sad and I miss them, but I also feel like they're there and it hurts, but at the same time, nostalgia and I remember, like that's a lot of their energy rushing in and contacting you. It can be very overwhelming. And I just want to bring that up because that's what it feels like to do it. So yeah, I hope this kind of helps you rework as you're decorating or you're planning for the holidays. Do it for you. do it for the connection, do it because you want to, and maybe reframe it in a way of this is the bridge that I am creating to connect me to the people on the other side who I miss. And go for it. I wanted to talk to you today about some readings I've had recently where just little things matter. That's kind of what I wanted to talk about today. Little things matter. So the first thing I wanted to talk about was mementos. Okay. I was reading this woman and she'd grown children, and, you know, she gave me a picture of her boy, and it was her son who died. He was older when he was a grown adult when he died, but he died. And, you know, I felt immediately, I didn't mean to die. So it felt to me like something sudden and accidental, and it was an overdose. Okay. And anyways, so then she also had a picture of, you know, her other kids, and one of them was his sister. And I saw an image of him just rushing to her and giving his sister a huge hug from the other side to this side, a huge hug. And then he could do that because of something. And he was pointing to a ring on her finger, and he was showing me. So this is all in my vision. So I see it kind of like a movie, I guess. So I'm seeing him hug her, kind of like his soul self hug her. She doesn't know that he's hugging her, but he's saying, I can do it because of this ring she's wearing. So I said this to the mom who I'm talking to. And she said that everybody, all the kids and herself, they had rings made with his ashes. And that was really a special little conduit. And it was something that, it's not the ashes, by the way, that bring them to you. It's the memory behind it. Does that make sense? Like sometimes with remains, it's not the remains themselves. It's the honor we place around them, and it's the memory, again, the memory that we place around them, and then that becomes the conduit. So because she wore that ring, he was just showing me he was able to contact her and be around her. And I thought that was really sweet. Yeah. And so these people who I was reading, lovely, just amazing, amazing family. And they actually have, a winery. Okay. They have a winery. And then he shows me a label and a bottle of wine and a label. And and I just got this feeling like, this is for me, this is for me. So I said, did you make a wine in honor of your son? And she said she had it in the works. She was looking for the right artist to make the right label in the way that she wanted it. And he was just like, go for it. Like he loved that they were doing this for him in honor of him. And so with this, it's just like, do the thing in honor of the person who passed. Like and she was doing it, but he was just like, go for it. I know it's happening. And again, that's another way that you can bring, it's just another, you got to think of them as like threads. Like anytime you do something that makes the memory more concrete in a tradition, or wearing something or creating something in honor of them, you can think of it as like a little thread, and the thread is connecting you to them. And it's an easier way for you both to kind of pluck the string of that thread. And I feel you and you feel me. And that was just a way she was doing it. And that's really cool because like all these people are going to come and buy the wine and look at the wine and know the story behind the wine. And that even makes the memory stronger and bigger and more and more permanent. Okay. Another thing, I say this all the time, jewelry means something. I get jewelry so much. And a lot of these episodes do center around like jewelry messages. And so I was reading a young woman, and her mom had passed. And my ring finger was getting so itchy. My ring finger on my left hand, it was getting so itchy. And I told her, my ring finger's getting itchy. Did you have like a mom ring, something there? And she said, yes, her mom had like a special anniversary ring, and she wears it on her ring finger. And again, it's not the thing that does it. It's the memory of it when you put it on. But also, I will say metal does hold. and I don't know why, this is where I don't understand the science behind these things, because I do feel at some point science and spirituality link and they connect. And this is one of those places. There's something with like metal where it does hold better. It keeps memory kind of more sustained. Anyways, when she puts it on, it was easier for mom to connect with her. It's not always someone you know or you knew in this lifetime that you can have a relationship with the other side, by the way. I had a reading with a woman today, actually. It was really cool. And we were talking about 100 other things. Her mom actually passed and was coming through really strong. But what's interesting was I just got this sense of another woman coming from the home she was living in. And I knew that she lived in an older home that was a single family home, but had been turned into, multiple units. And she was in one of the units. And I saw the woman, and I really hope the lady I was reading is yellow. So hopefully she'll research this, because it'd be really cool if she could tell me. And I saw like a rounder woman, and she was wearing clothes like long skirts. So whatever time of that is, like long skirt and apron. And she was very connected to the house, and she was very concerned with the sanctity of the house and who was living there. And she was acting like she was a boarder, like she was a boarding person. So I don't know if that was her trying to show me that she was a boarder, or she considers herself like a ghost boarder, like that. Like she's in charge of the house and all these people live here and I take care of them, like that. But she was showing me all this stuff. And she never knew this lady. They were, probably a century apart in living, but she really loved the woman I was reading. And she just randomly came in during the reading to basically say, like, don't leave. This is your place. And just really appreciating how she took care of the place and how clean she was and how quiet and how she respected the architecture. They don't like when you change a whole lot of stuff. They like when you, how do I put it? They don't mind when you make changes that are for the longevity of the home, but they don't like it when you modernize it. This is just what I've noticed overall with energy attached to homes. Anyways, she was giving me the layout, which was really interesting. She was showing me like a certain window, and I could see out the window she was showing me, and I saw the front of the house, and I was just seeing everything in detail. And I think that's another thing. If you don't know somebody, and sometimes it could be like this lady was renting an apartment in a home, but there was somebody attached to it. But this can also be if you work in a place and somebody who was a previous person who worked there that you didn't know could connect you. If you share a mind space with somebody, like if you care about the same thing they cared about, or if you share an actual physical space that was important to them, or if you share some sort of passion that they shared, like a cause, for example, and then you're in charge of a cause, like that kind of thing. These people can connect with you. And it's something that, I don't know, you might notice. And, when you're doing things and maybe you live in an older house or whatever, and you kind of sense this, you're not making it up and you're not crazy. And I will say, when I talk to people and I pick stuff like this up, they already know it. Like they already are like, yeah, I felt that a little bit. Like they felt it. It's not negative. Like I always say, ghosts, like little ghost roommates, they're ghost roommates. That's it. Anyways. Okay. But I was reading another woman, and she gave me a picture of just a very old woman. And immediately she was just sitting there. It was a picture, and it was a very old woman sitting down. That's it. And immediately I got like, because I'm an empathic medium, so I'll get someone's personality. And with this woman, I got like really stoic vibe. And I just knew she was an Irish immigrant. I'm like, was she an Irish immigrant? And my client was like, yeah. I'm like, whoa. I'm like, she is just really hardcore survivor like that. And then I started tasting, and this could happen to you too. And I've talked about this, but I started tasting soda bread, which is a hard thing to understand. Like it was in the back of my throat and it tasted like soda bread. If you've ever had soda bread, I think you know what I'm talking about. It has a very distinctive taste to it. I don't know. Anyways, I was tasting it and I'm like, soda bread? And she's like, I'm like, I feel like, I'm like, I'm tasting soda bread. Did she make? So, I mean, and I know Irish people do make soda bread. So I get, sometimes it's like, okay, the psychic knew she was Irish and said she made soda bread. But I'm like, no, but this is important soda bread. I guess this is the thing that connects them, because her great granddaughter makes her great grandma's soda bread recipe like all the time. Like that's their connection. That's the thing. When you cook something, back to traditions, when you cook something that a relative, it was their thing, and you're like, I'm going to make it my thing. Like that connects you to them big time, especially if they were like known for a dish or whatever. That is a really big deal. I have a friend who her family is very close, and at every family reunion, they have this very weird recipe. It's like macaroni and cheese with cottage cheese. I don't know. Because the grandma, who was kind of like the matriarch of the family, made it, who's long since passed, they all make it. They make it every time they get together, and everybody has their own versions of it, and they do it in her honor. You know, it's a way of getting grandma there, even though she's not there, but she is there. So cooking, so think about that too with like recipes this year. You know what? I miss Aunt Susie's apple pie. I'm going to make it that way. Like whatever it is, like go for it. If you don't have the exact recipe, ask them for help. Okay? Like try to do it. If you can get their bakeware or you can get exactly what they used, bonus. But if not, go with it and do it. Again, it's not the thing that brings them, it's your intention, it's your actions, it's the memory that brings them close by. But I'm telling you, if you're really serious about it, they'll help you. They'll start making you taste things. As you're cooking, you're like, I feel like it needs a little bit more of this, or I just feel like I need that. Like it'll start coming to you through them. And notice if you're tasting things that you're not tasting, because that's a psychic sense, clairgustance. Okay. And oh, this was interesting. So here's the thing. Trust your coincidences and trust your gut feelings, okay? I was reading this woman, and she showed me a picture of a man, and I knew it was, her grandpa, and I knew he had passed. But he said to me, now, I told you guys this before, they don't always talk directly to me. Usually on the phone. So I'm treated by people on the other side, like a phone, like you would a phone. When you pick up the phone, you're like, hi, you talk through it to the person. You never talk directly to the phone. You're not like, hi phone. Okay. But sometimes the dead people will talk to me like directly. And this was one of the times. And it's always alarming because I'm like, oh, okay. Anyways, the grandpa said to me, he goes, hey, I never died. That's what he said. And I was like, whoa. And it was so clear. So I told her what I just experienced. And she's like, well, that's weird, because after he died, apparently, and he did die, but after he died, there was kind of like this phenomenon in the family where people thought they saw him all the time. And like kind of people in their neighborhood would just look like him randomly and stuff. And they all had the same kind of eerie experience, not just here or there. Like, that person looks like grandpa. Or it was like, no, I thought it was grandpa. And then people in the family were like, it was just a repetitive experience. People on the other side can mess, and I've told you guys this, they can mess with your third eye vision. It's when you think you see somebody and you could swear that you do. And then it's not. And sometimes even like their mannerisms are the same. Like you're about to walk up to him and be like, grandpa, like that, like what? Like it's distracting how obvious it is. And then you look again, like, oh, that's not them. That's weird. That is spirit just messing with your third eye, which means that they just, it's just how they get you to see. It's like a false, how do I put it? Like a false vision, but it's not real. It's just a sign. So if that's happened to you, it's the same thing like when you think you hear something, like you think you heard somebody's voice who passed, or you think you hear a song that's meaningful. It's just a way the spirit can mess with you in order for you to get the intended feeling. Because again, the feelings are the memories are the conduit. I hope this has assisted you in getting excited to remember some stuff. maybe wear some mementos, do something in someone's honor, cook a dish for somebody, connect with the ghost that you're roommates with. I hope that this assists you in making the bridges from this side to the next through memory and tradition. This podcast is for you and about you, and I'm so glad you spent some time with us today.